welcome back to a new episode of Conartists. So I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sherms.
And today we have a guest.
Hi, I'm Chaerin.
Chaerin. So why we have Chaerin here is because she's a consultant and part of the organizing committee for Artcade. And if you don't know, Artcade is a up and coming, like a new art convention whereby creatives, not only fan artists, can be part of. And the next one is happening from 3rd to 4th September and at the Chinese Cultural Center.
The Singapore Chinese Cultural Center, Tanjong Pagar.
Which is, I think at the time of posting, it will be 1 week
away
from now.
Like next weekend, right?
Okay, well guys, I hope you're prepped for your merch. So if you guys are listening to this, better keep packing, keep drawing, send for printing early. Don't send it the day before.
I think too late already. We're like 1 week away.
1 week away.
You better have your merch prepared
I
already.
know, right? Pack your suitcases, get ready.
Yeah, so you want to tell us more about Artcade, and you already had one that happened in June, right?
Yeah, wait, tell us more about yourself first. Like, what do you do?
Okay.
What do you like help out in Arcade and stuff?
Well, what I do in Arcade is basically a spin-off of my real life job. I work in the media. I'm not gonna say where because this is personal information. But beyond that, I think that what I do at Arcade is basically a spin-off of publicity that I do in real life for like some of my other side hustles. It's also a little bit of community management, a little bit of logistics here and there. If you've seen part of the statements on our Arcade Instagram, I might have been the one writing them sometimes. So,
Copywriting.
I mean, like a little bit. The organizing team is basically a powerhouse of people who are so creative. There are some Photoshop wizards in there, like like peak artist Photoshop wizards. I'm constantly in awe of what they do. So,
Yeah, the aesthetics and everything for Arcade.
It's very, very like how to say, consistent.
Yeah.
And the branding is very good. Like once people see it, they're like, hey, it's Arcade, like the colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it. I can't take any credit for that. It's a part of the team's work, and I think that it's also because like we are a team of artists / writers. With me, a writer. So I think that it kind of gels in a way that it feels very much like a collective that's creating something for other artists. Okay, so a little bit of ancient history. Arcade round 1 in June started off with like 4 people on the organizing committee, and I joined for Arcade round 2. So I'm a little bit like a behind the scenes sort of like gremlin helper, which is a little bit like a shadowy chimera figure just lingering in the background. They are doing all the heavy lifting. They are the ones doing all the logistics and all credit to them. I'm the one just helping out to like in terms of crisis I will
management.
be there. Call me in terms of emergency. In times of emergency, just break the glass.
So how did you like join them after the first Arcade? Like what made you want to like join this team and offer your help?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I was one of the boothers at the first Arcade.
I had no idea. What do you sell there?
Well, my collective Arcadia, we publish books.
That's cool.
Yeah, I also do a little bit of black and white fan art of Japanese figure skater Yuzuru Hanyu.
Oh my god.
Then you must be very sad about the recent news.
But, I
I don't want to cry on camera.
okay, let's not go there.
No. But I also do BTS fan art. I do some JJK fan art sometimes too.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, I think
So
that
you do everything. You're a writer, you're an artist.
Organizer. But jack of all trades, master of none. But better than a master of one. Okay, anyway, I have my fingers in a lot of different pies, and this is just something that I've always wanted to do. I mean, like, I've organized smaller scale exhibitions and events, not in Singapore.
So not in Singapore?
Yeah, when I was back in doing my masters in an unnamed European country, I organized some small scale exhibitions. I was also one of the editors of a creative collective that did some work I'll just say it in London. We had some film events and things like that. So yeah, I think that it was just experience from that and what I did in college, plus my media job that created this confluence of factors that led me to go to the arcade team and say, you guys have something really, really cool here, and I would like to be part of it. Yes, just peeking out from behind the curtain like, hello.
So after working with them for a while, I'm sure you roughly know the mindset behind like arcade and everything. So if you don't mind showing what arcade is, why is arcade,
how it happened.
So
the history of arcade.
History of arcade.
The very short history for now.
The very short history for now. Hopefully a longer history down the road.
Definitely.
First of all, I think from what I've heard from the rest of the team, Arcade started because they were looking for boothing opportunities for original creators. So it very much started as, because some of them do a lot of original art. I mean, there's a little bit of fan art here and there, but I think it was because they were looking for a venue that they could have for them and their friends, and that's what started the first arcade, which is basically 40 plus booths, and then it sort of evolved in round two to become a little bit more diverse. I would say there's more fan art this time round. You guys can look out for some like really, really cool fan art, and these two lovely people will be there too. So that helps. And also I think that we are looking forward to creating some upcoming events that will
so there's
be
future plans as well.
Very much so. I can't reveal them just yet, but
Of course.
Follow us on the socials and
Arcade.
yes.
Because I also noticed that the first arcade was like only a few months ago, and then you guys are suddenly coming out with arcade number 2.
Yes.
So
And like twice the size as well.
yeah. So are you guys planning to do this regularly, or what's your goal? Are you guys want to do this like twice a year, annually? Like, is there any
Quarterly,
plans? Yeah.
or just like seeing when's a good weekend and like just going for it.
Yeah, at the risk of giving too much away, I think that you're gonna see a lot more of us in the months to come.
That's cool.
Ooh,
That's
exciting.
exciting.
Yeah. I think that also the arcade team is full of people who don't do this as a full-time job. I have a full-time job outside of this, and so we can't do it every weekend.
No. Then it will be like oversaturated as well. Yeah.
So there has to be a little bit of breathing room, and we also like to have a little bit of space in between each event so that we can plan the next one and try to make it better than
I
the
think
last.
you need to rest, recuperate, learn from like past experiences, what you can
Yes.
improve on, and then creating a better space for everyone.
For sure.
Yeah, and you need time to promote as well.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah, and time to prepare much.
I think that also from an artist point of view, and you guys can go in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys need months to prepare for merch, right?
Yeah,
yes.
I mean,
yeah.
like, it doesn't happen overnight, and there's a production timeline, and
Yes.
you want to have something fresh every event too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to a new convention with particularly a new audience. Especially, I think Arcade is a little new, and because there's a lot of original art there, so I think that it will attract a slightly different audience from a regular anime
Yes.
convention.
Yes.
Is what I think.
I think that's
yeah.
really cool because we already have anime conventions, right? We want some like a fresh spin on things.
Yeah.
You want to see a new crowd of people and new artists as well. Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask this. It's a bit sensitive, maybe, but you're part of the organizing committee, and I'm sure you know what's going on behind the scenes. When people apply, I know you have about 250 applications, and you have about 100 tables. So like, we want to know like what makes or breaks like the application. Like, what do you see in the application that will attract you to invite them to the event, to confirm them?
Yeah. I think that we try to have as many different types of creatives as possible. So when we look at a portfolio, first of all, we do ask for socials.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just an unwritten rule of being an artist online right now, or a writer for that matter. You need to have an online presence, and if you don't, you're selling yourself short.
But okay, online presence, do you look at their follower counts or their engagement, or just do you look at whether they're active,
their works
posting
or
or stuff like that?
Yeah, so to me, I'll just say this right here, follower counts are bullshit.
Yep.
So I think that a follower count or like count is no judgment of how good or how much potential an artist has. We would accept someone with 10 followers if we thought that they had potential. I think that also we got quite a range of new submissions from people that we'd never seen before, and that we would probably never have discovered if we didn't have the application process that we did. And I think we're going to talk about this a little later about how our application process differs a little bit from other conventions.
But generally, like, what do you see?
Generally, I think that we are looking for a little bit of variety of the kind of merch that people do. So, for example, we're not asking you to do merch of every single series that's popular right now. That's not possible. So, I think that we want to see, like, okay, so you are into charms. What kind of charms are you doing? Are they basically pushing your identity a little bit more? I think we're looking for a little bit more personality in some of the work.
Oh, that's very cool to hear.
And I think that when we evaluate someone, we don't evaluate them with like a preconception of what an artist and an artist alley should be. We look at them and think, is this person gonna have a great time at the event? We want everyone to have a great time. We try to fit in as many people as possible, and we are so sorry to those people who didn't get in. But don't worry, there'll be more events coming around.
Don't be so disappointed if you don't get in. It doesn't mean that, you're not good enough.
Of course.
It honestly, it's just a space issue.
It's just a space issue because I think that the consensus among the organizing committee is that if we could have accepted all 250, we would have accepted all 250. There's no question about that.
It's really, really sad to reject people.
And I think having been on the receiving end of rejection so many times in my career, it's always very difficult to say no to someone. And I think that if you didn't get it this time around, please apply for the next Artcade.
Just keep trying.
Keep trying, exactly. And even if you're not part of Artcade on this like September event, there's so many other events going on the same weekend. Right?
I mean,
we won't name names, but there are like at least 2 other events, and you can definitely go for those as well.
And we encourage you guys to event hop as well. There's not many occasions in Singapore where you have like an art weekend. I think that Singapore has had art weeks, but having conventions stacked on the same weekend isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're not here to compete with other events. We just want everyone to have fun.
Like the first one that happened at Grid, the first Arcade clashed with AUSG.
Unfortunately.
Right? And both Sherms and I were boofing at AUSG too, but like the crowd was still insane, and we heard Arcade was insane
on
too.
both ends.
So it's just, Singapore has so many people, it's just gonna fill up.
And then the crazy thing is that you guys that buy merch, you guys like to post like your loot, your haul on IG stories. And then the mind-blowing thing for us is that there's loot from 2 different places. And that's so good to see. I mean, like, I don't think that any of the organizing team, at least on our end, wants people to just come to Arcade. No, go everywhere, see everything.
Just support the artists that you like.
And also, like, there are so many artists that you might not have seen at Arcade that might be boothing elsewhere.
Because I think the community is kind of different, because AUSG is mostly like, it's still like an anime based, like fan art based Japanese culture, and I think Arcade has makers, crafters, and as you said, you're trying to have writers as well.
I think that there's always room for a lot of people to have a space for themselves, and we can always build each other up and support each other. And I think that that's what's the important thing here at the end of the day, because I think that the artist community in Singapore is already small enough as it is that we don't want to exclude people and make them feel unwelcome or disadvantaged in any way. And I think that the more spaces there are, it can only be a good thing. I think during COVID we had this very long lull where there were no events.
I think at least for a year.
And that was such a drought, and it's just so sad, because I think what artists need is not to have like one event at the end of the year where everyone goes to, especially if you're thinking of doing it full time. You need things that are spaced out throughout the year.
And like maybe every few months or every couple of months.
There was a period where I think it was pre-COVID, there was this thing that was happening where like artists were working and making merch for like the first half of the year, and then after that the rest of the year is con season, that kind of thing. So
like building up stocks.
All the artists were struggling in the first half of the year.
And
then after that, the second half is...
usually the pattern is like that, because like Dojima will probably be the first big convention of the year pre-COVID, right? So that happens in May.
Yeah.
And then before that, we're just like,
What do we do?
What do we do?
Well, at the risk again of giving away too much, maybe that won't be the case now.
Yeah, I can see like a rising trend of like emerging artists and emerging events as well, and it's really cool that we're just both supporting each other.
Yes,
you know?
and also like as an event organizer slash creative myself, I want to see more people do small events and make them bigger. So what I would encourage more people to do, honestly, is to say if you've never boofed before, but you have friends who want to, and then you have more friends who want to, and their friends want to booth too, start your own event.
Actually, right, there is like something that happened like that, like you know, Makers Market. Yeah, so like in Halloween season, right, me, Sherms, and a few other artists, we actually like just booked 6 tables together, and then we kind of like hold up in an entire unit instead.
So it's
we
like
kind
a
of
mini
Halloween event.
I
But
think I was there.
you were there?
I was.
Yeah,
I
and
might
I
have
think,
slipped in and out again like a gremlin, but yeah.
yeah, it happened last October. So I think that was one of the first big like events for all the artists because more people were allowed to enter. Yeah, and there wasn't as many like PAX restrictions and stuff.
Sure.
So I think that was the start of things coming back. And then you see a lot of people from like artist community on Discord, right? They actually like will book the entire event and kind of make it art market. And I think that's what kind of happened with Artcade.
I think it's not entirely like that, but I think that they were in talks with the venue, and then it became more formalized in the form of arcade. In the weekends before that, there were other people who were doing little groups, so they would book up a certain space and grid, and then they would booth together, which is so exciting. I mean, like you don't have to take over a space; it doesn't have to be like posh and very like upper crust. It doesn't have to be like that.
Affordable as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for going back to applications, right? Like so I don't think it's wrong to say that if you have experience in boothing, you probably have like a higher chance of you know being picked. But I noticed that you guys have like a freshie option.
Yes.
So can you tell us more about that and like you know what's
What's
this
the difference
thing?
between freshie
it's a
and
different
general?
it's a different form, right?
Yeah, it's a totally different form. I don't think I've seen another convention that has this.
I don't think so too. Yeah.
So how this came about was that we were just talking about having a way for more freshmen artists who have never ever boothed before to be able to showcase their work, and for us to basically not have their applications like lost. Because I think that one of the bigger things in like the art community is that you'll see people with a very high profile, and then people who have never boothed before will just get lost in the sauce, and we don't want that to happen. So we had this Freshies form that was just basically a way for people to say, okay, I've never boothed before, I don't have a lot of experience, but this is me. Please have a look at my work. And yeah, we got so many applications from that, and we set aside space for the Freshies.
So you set aside like a percentage of booths for them, like especially.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's so nice to like my hair is standing again. Okay, so yeah, it's very nice to see you give like a new artist a chance because you know during the pandemic it's been 2 years of lull period, and I'm very sure there are many new artists trying to like make art their career.
Yeah, for sure.
And boofing is one of the most important things that can provide exposure and sales and help them save and invest in more merch in future as well. Because I think that's how we kind of build our careers as well. We relied heavily on events because sometimes growing online is pretty difficult, right?
Yeah, especially in these times.
So
in these dark days of the IG revolution, look like something it isn't supposed to be.
So I think it's so cool that the committee has came up with this freshie option to give them a higher chance of getting into events and providing them a platform to show their art.
For sure. And I kind of want to say that like we've all been there before, right? I think that I speak for all three of us when we say we've all started somewhere very sad and dismal. And I mean, no one wants to be there, but at the same time, you always have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you never start boofing, and if you never put your work out there, then you'll forever be in that place where no one is going to see it. And I think that it's also that we want to provide people with that platform to take that leap of faith. Like, you can't go into your first convention thinking you're going to sell everything. It may not happen. In fact, you might sell one or two things, and we'll talk about this later about like convention quantities and like how to navigate the space.
That's a very like frequently asked question.
Yeah, and I think that is a very frequently asked question for like organizers as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I think that it's just giving people the opportunity to sell that one print, or to let other people know that, hey, I am out here and you can see me here. So yeah,
I think not only that, because when you're boofing around other creatives, and that's when you learn a lot.
yes,
Yeah, it's like learning from people, like how they set up their booths, how they. I think one very important thing is how they communicate with their supporters and the people who come to their booths.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of artists are not extroverts.
Yes.
So I think that one of the biggest struggles, and now that you say you're an introvert, I think it's probably something that you feel deep in your soul, that talking to people can be terrifying.
Yes.
So when you see other people like Sarah operate their booths, it's a little different because it's a very different style, and you have to be public facing, and you have to maybe behave in a way that you're not entirely like comfortable with, which is talking to people
To learn a bit
non-stop.
of PR.
Yeah, and also people will come up to you and ask questions about your art, and this is your chance not only to network but to showcase yourself. And I think that as organizers, we love to see people talking to each other and not hiding behind their booths.
And it's like your passion will ignite, you know? like
No,
when you're surrounded
absolutely.
with like other artists, and you're like, hey, you know this like anime, you like this
exactly.
anime too, and then you make friends, and then the community grows and thrives, and it's so nice to see.
I think that the ultimate connection is when you meet eyes with someone who goes, is that?
Oh my god, yes.
And then you're like, yes!
Yeah, and even the most introvert of introverts will like you'll see them glow, and you'll see their true self come out.
And I think that one of the moments, like the fangirl freak out moment, was when a Yuzuru Hanyu fan artist who was in Singapore came up to my booth and said, oh my god, it's the first time that I've ever seen much of him here. And I was like,
You know him?
Soulmates.
no, I was like, are you so and so? And they were like, you do fan merch of Yuzuru Hanyu too? Are you the artist? So
That is my favorite
and that
interaction
is how
ever.
friendships are made, because we are now
Exactly.
friends on IG. So
And I think that's why conventions thrive, because everyone can get along when they know, like, you have similar interests, you have common likes and all that. So I think that's why people are so excited about going to events, like finding the like birds of the same feather.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I think it's also very very good that, like, you know, you're going to an event that's by artists for artists. So you know, they know all your troubles, you know, everything you're worried about, because they have experienced it as well.
Yeah, like you know all the needs of someone that's moving, like, you know,
yeah.
like small things like trash bag, or like even water,
Drinks,
and like space management, and like not to put who with who, you know.
Artist drama.
Artist circle jams.
Because you're in the community, so you know everything that's going on. I think all this is really cool, because when you're creative, organizing an event for creatives, you take a lot of these like factors into consideration. Yeah,
Because like you say, at the end of the day, you want everyone to be happy, everyone to have
that's
fun.
the point.
For sure. And I think that one of the big parts of being happy at a convention is taking it easy. From the organizer's point of view, is we know that things are going to go wrong for you, so let us help you. Help us help you. Also, I think that this is a good point to segue into like what you should and should not do at a convention. I think
cool.
Con etiquette,
Wow.
basically.
Okay, I need to learn this, 'cause, like,
But you're an old pro already, you know
yeah,
these.
but I want to know, maybe I've been stepping on people's toes without knowing.
Well, I think that one of the must-dos at a con is to talk to the people beside you.
Oh yeah,
So-
make friends.
Yeah, not only that, but these are gonna be the people who are gonna be in the trenches with you for the next 2 days. right? So you want someone looking out for you. And I think that one of the biggest, more unfortunate things that conventions over the years have seen is theft.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So unfortunately, there's only so much that organizers can do because security people and the organizing team cannot be in all places at once. And having more people to look out for you over time, it can only be a good thing.
Yeah,
Like for example,
exactly.
say if the person next to you is going for lunch and they only have one person left at the booth, for instance, and then you are quite free and then you're looking over and then you see someone behaving suspiciously. That's when you flag things and then you're going like, hey, you know?
Can I help you?
Yeah. Like,
sir?
hi.
You're kind of
Ma'am?
sus.
Yeah, so I think that's one. And number two is I think that also I see artists sometimes struggling with like huge pieces of like setup material. And sometimes when you're already set up and you see someone struggling, I think that the good thing to do is to
Help
go over and
out,
say,
make friendship.
do you need a hand here? Because
Yeah.
they might not be your booth mate, but they're your convention mate.
Yeah.
So, you
When
know.
you're all trying to make it work.
The
Yeah.
community is very small.
Yes.
So, you know, it's good to you know, connect, make friends.
Yes, for sure. And I think
Yeah.
another thing is that, leading off from that, is that this is not a competition. It's a convention, but you are not competing with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
If people want to buy things, they're here to see literally everything you
Yeah.
have. So these people are not your enemies. They are your friends.
That is such
And
a
yeah.
good point.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that it's if you can help give people shout outs on social media, if you can go around talk to other artists like, hey, what are you passionate about? Is this what you want to sell? Cool, let me put it on my IG. I think
Like-
this is fantastic.
Only good things can come from making friends
For
with
sure.
other artists because even in time to come when there are new events, you might hit each other up. Hey, do you want to share a
Yeah.
booth? Or like, hey, this event is coming up. Like Sherms and I, every time there's a new event, we'll be like, hey, you want to join this? Like,
you
let's sign
see
up.
this?
You better sign up now. This one first come first serve. And you know,
Which booth are you
so
taking?
it's always good to build a community, and it's always good to make friends with people who care about each other.
For sure.
Yeah, so it's not like, I think it's very important.
Yeah. And also, if we want to talk about like things that you must do, bring water, stay hydrated,
Yes.
bring food, and don't worry about your quantities. You know, like some people get very in the weeds about
Yeah,
like
I always see the question of how much should
Yeah.
I make?
bring,
Yeah,
and the answer is you never know.
as much as you can.
I mean, there's that.
I wouldn't say as much as you can. The very first time I did fan art, I printed like
Too many.
too many,
okay.
like 30 pieces, and I only sold 2. So
It can be quite
Yeah.
discouraging when that happens. What I would say for new artists, and that's the advice that I've given them across the board, is that 5 to 8 pieces for original art. You want to test the market, but you don't want to sell yourself short by bringing too little and then people are taking the display piece and then that's it. So that's for original art. For fan art, it depends on the series, and then you can always do an interest check on your socials first. I think that's a very good way to do that. Like, okay, hi guys, do you prefer design A or design B? Should I do fan art of X character? And if you get that sort of feedback ahead of the event, you can actually calibrate like how much stock you want to bring for each one. So
I
that's a
think
good way to do it.
Not only that, if you do posts on Instagram and you interact with your followers, right? I think it's very important in building that connection with your followers as well. It's not only for like market research, but it's also to show people that you value their opinions, and maybe they might come down to the event because they clicked on that poll.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to kind of interact with the people that enjoy your art.
and it's
Yeah.
I feel like it's better to sell out than to not sell at all, than to have leftover merch.
But again, I personally I can't give like a distinct amount like 5 to 8. I think it really depends on the artists themselves
Yes,
as well.
that's
Like
true.
how many followers do you have? How many people do you think will come down from the people that follow you? So like example, even if you're a new artist, you've never booked before, but you might have 20k followers all from Singapore. So that's what you need to take into account. Like maybe you can estimate like, okay, maybe let's say 50 people will come down. Then you print the right amount for the amount of people that already are interested in your art. So I never ever give like specific amounts, but you really need to take into account, like even if you're not sure who's coming down, what I always do is to do a poll.
Yes.
So I'm like, hey, are you coming down to Artcade this weekend? Then I'll check.
Very smart.
Yeah, so I was
Very
like,
smart.
okay, 200 people replied to these. And then I was like, okay, 200 people. Then I'll try to provide and bring more stocks than I anticipate. Because, you know, like let's say you have 10 designs, and not all the designs you'll sell, but you still need to bring enough for people to choose from. So let's say one design sells out, but the other designs never sell out. But you will never know which one is more popular. So that's why I always say, like, bring as many as you can. And it depends also on whether you have the budget to print enough. So just work around your budget, you know, like just do as much as possible. Even if you don't sell, this is not food, it's not gonna expire.
Of course.
You're gonna have a next event. So just try to create as much as possible. Whatever you can handle. Money wise, logistics wise, just whatever you can handle. And just try to have a accurate kind of prediction of, you know, what's gonna be selling well, how many people are coming down, how many regular supporters do you have. And that's why I always interact with my supporters, so that I know whether they're coming down, I can prepare enough for them.
And even then, like for my side, because I sell more smaller merch, right? Like if something doesn't do well in one event, right, it doesn't mean that it won't do well at all. Because like I have had enamel pins and stuff that go unsold for like 2 events straight, and then suddenly the next event I sell out. So I think it really depends on the audience of I mean you can kind of gauge what kind of audience might go to certain events. Like I mean anime events, you're definitely going to get anime fans. If you go to like an art market, you're definitely going to get more, you know, original art enthusiasts. So I feel like knowing what like, you know, researching, knowing what events do sell, like
fan art,
sell original.
For me, I kind of think that it depends on whether you're an experienced booter or not. So if you're an experienced booter, you kind of already like know what the crowd's gonna be like. But if you're going into this like completely blind, I'll say take this as a little bit of an experiment.
Like so a dip in the water.
Like get your feet wet. See whether things work or not. And if they don't, it's fine. It's fine for things to not work. In fact, it's surprising when they do. So sometimes I tell people, and I tell the rest of the people on my team as well, that I have zero expectations for what's going to happen. Not because I have low expectations, but because I don't want to go in with a preconceived idea of like, this is going to work and this is not going to work. Let's try everything. And I think it's always nice to see people try and experiment with things that maybe they haven't done before. Like for example, say if you have been doing Attack on Titan fan art for a very long time, and then to see someone do something from another series, it's like, ooh, okay, that's cool. So I think it's always nice to see some variety, some color, things like that.
And also like to judge whether your thing will sell or not, I think the pre-event preparations are also very important. So a lot of times, like when I come out with a new design, or like, you know, there's a new anime that's very popular right now, you know it's gonna sell, then you bring more of those. And also, like when promoting your event, right, you're gonna post your merch, new merch, old merch, and whatever. So whatever you post, right, and whatever you focus in on, that will probably be the bestseller or one of the best sellers. So it's also very important, like what do you want to sell, you have to promote it more.
And there are certain things that are like new that you want to introduce to your audience. I mean, whenever I do something new, I want the audience to see it. So don't be shy to post on social. Some people are like, okay, I'm only gonna post once because I don't want my followers to get tired.
I know.
Don't do that.
I always tell her, for me it's like, events coming, I'm gonna post every day.
And I don't think that there's any shame in that. I mean, like, people wish they could get an engagement, and I think that engagement only happens when you engage.
Exactly.
So
Thank you, Chaerin.
Okay, I will learn from this.
And because and there's a time limit, right? So example, if the event's gonna happen on 3rd September, then you're gonna want to make use of that 2 weeks pre-event to kind of push more publicity for the
sure.
events. And if you don't post, no one's gonna see it.
And
But if
also,
you
like,
post every day, maybe 10% gonna see on one day, 10%
Yeah.
gonna see on the next day. So
Yeah.
you just have to, and nobody will hate you because this is your livelihood. They're not gonna get sick of your art.
For
yeah.
This is just Sarah like telling all this to me again.
That I tell her like 10 times. Yeah.
But also, I think that, okay, alright, so for like events, right, as organizers, we love to see creatives promote the event.
Right? Tag is publicity
Tag
for the
us.
event.
Yes.
Yeah.
For you guys who are at the event, tag us. Especially in your like booth photos. I think that when your followers see what the event looks like, it drives more traffic to the event and it helps you. Because this is like I don't even think that organizers and creatives are very different in that sense. You actually want to get the word out there as much as possible. So don't be shy or precious with the more that you post.
That
And
makes
also,
sense.
yeah, I think that being able to push content as much as you want, it's a privilege. So
It's a privilege. For free.
For free?
For free.
I know. And also we do a lot of reposting. I think during the last arcade, the team actually went out of their way to repost as many stories as possible on the IG story.
I see that as
Yeah.
a rising trend because, like, you know, in the past conventions, they never ever shared like artists, maybe just the guests or like the more popular, like invited, like like guests and stuff. But they never
that one post with just like the artist alley map, and then just like that
name.
entire
All the
list of
names.
all the artists, and that's it.
Yeah, and
you
they
know?
never ever individually promote artists, so it's like very refreshing to see like upcoming artists markets or like art conventions and even anime conventions doing that, because what I realized is these are all headed by creatives, like people that like are creatives and organize their own events. They're the ones that are like sharing all the other artists. They are like very generous with it. No matter how many tags there are, they will share it. So like I think it's so nice to see.
Yeah, because like we've been there, right? We've been there in an event where no one's stopping by the booth and then no one knows who the hell you are.
Yeah.
So I think that when we go behind the scenes and now we are on the other sides of the fence, we want to do things that other people didn't do for us. And also, I think that when we promote artists on Instagram, there are so many times where people have come up to me showing the Arcade Instagram story going, do you still have this? And I'm like,
Oh,
okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so yeah, it's pretty interesting because like you always have another person who has never heard of you. And
definitely.
I think that whenever you get another set of eyeballs on something, it's always a plus.
Yeah, every single view is very important.
Yes.
Even though like I've been doing this for 9 years, like I am still like very grateful for every single person that come down to my booth, because it's a choice, you know, and they chose to come to support you regularly even. And I think that's why I'm always like trying to make friends with everyone, and how I'm always trying to make conversations with them, because like they have become friends. Yeah, like so many of them, and every time I see them at event, like you know them by the name, and then you give hugs, and it just makes you overall so much happier. Even though sales might not be so good for a certain event, you know, you actually have the chance to meet not only your artist friends but also your supporters who have become friends. So yeah, it's just like a whole big like happy family. Yeah.
So going back to like arcade, right? It makes me very happy to to hear people talk about like original art and fan art, because I feel like a lot of artists, like I've talked to a lot of artists before, they are afraid of doing original art because it doesn't sell well. And then
that's
everyone's
a myth.
very scared to start. So like with you talking about original art at Artcade, do you guys in terms of application, again, sorry, I'm going back to applications,
No
but
worries.
like do you guys prefer original art, or for Arcade, is there a preference for original art, or you don't mind like a mix of both, or
That's an interesting question. The answer is really do not discriminate between original artists and fan artists. We want everyone. If we could, we would fit everyone in that venue. I think that it's also that the reason why I highlighted original art is because I am an original artist and I have a little bit of a bias. And also I'm here to debunk a myth that original art doesn't sell. It does. So I think that, I mean, we know this now. So I think that it's also because there's this like implicit fear that if no one knows what that character is, that they won't buy it. That's not true.
Yeah.
So I think that you don't always have to do just fan art. If you want to do it and if it makes you happy, please go ahead and do it. But if some part of you thinks that maybe I want to try it out, absolutely 100% do it. Because it only benefits you and is a learning point. It's never a bad thing to try it out. And even if no one buys the print, you have done that for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always felt that selling originals is more rewarding than selling fan art. Not to say like, you know, selling fan art is not rewarding, but
it's very rewarding.
it's very rewarding, especially when you connect with the customer.
Yeah.
But for originals, I think that, you know, it's rewarding in the sense that
people appreciate
they're appreciating your creations. They're not buying something just for that character that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And also I think that I've spoken to some other original artists as well, and I think that there's a little bit of joy there when it comes to like people are buying my OCs.
Yeah.
Or like
I know.
people love my OCs as much as I love them. And maybe that's what this is all about. Like we're like being able to put a little bit of yourself out in the world.
Yep.
And to have people look at it and go, I like that too. And I think that that's something a little bit sentimental and romantic about it. I mean, we can go on about this forever, but in a convention setting, that is what I find very interesting, rewarding, and something I want to see more of. And the more original art I see, the happier I am. Because I'm like, okay, people are trying it out. They're doing it. They're investing in it. And I think that it's not only an investment in a product, it's an investment in yourself.
Exactly. It's kind of like buying something of that person, you know, like a part of them.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, for me, I do both, right? Sherms is mainly original art. For me, I started venturing into fan art only when I entered the convention scene. Before that, I was doing all original art as well. So kind of have both perspective. And for me, like, I enjoy both, but they're both very, very different. Like when you're doing something original, right? Like for me, I do it in projects, and there's always a story that I want to tell. So when people are buying my original art, they're buying that story. And they're also buying that connection in a way where I share my past experiences and what inspired this piece. And when people actually understand the concept behind my original work, it's a different kind of rewarding because they are buying a memory from you, or they're buying a feeling from you, and they are connecting on another level.
100%.
And then when it comes to fan art, it's slightly more shallow rewarding, I would say, you know, not afraid to say, but it's an exciting kind of rewarding because you're like, oh my god, you like this character too. And it's like I hope I did this character justice, and they're like, oh no, this is my favorite shirt ever. Then it's more exciting. So there's two different kinds of like perspective to original and fan art.
That's the reason why I am not very comfortable with doing fan art, because I feel like I can't do justice to the character. That's probably so every time I do fan art, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't post this. It doesn't look like, you know, as nice as the original.
Tell her.
Just in the background again, like a gremlin going,
just do it.
But no, I mean, it's very valid. I think that when speaking as a writer, whenever people buy my book at conventions, I'm simultaneously shocked, surprised, and grateful. I think that it's a combination of those three things, especially like so some of my books are in Kinokuniya right now. And
okay. Yeah, we can talk more about your works.
Some of them are in Kinokuniya right now, and there were some people who came up to me at Arcade Round 1 and they were like, could you sign my book? And I'm like,
the best feeling.
And I'm just like, are you sure you want me to sign on that? Mostly because my handwriting is terrible.
Oh, don't worry, mine is as well. Like,
But also, yeah, to get back to the topic, I mean, like, it almost felt like a Horcrux, you know, like Harry Potter reference. But it's a little bit of me that they now own.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Just a personal touch to
Yeah.
it. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. Sometimes ugly is even better, right? Like, wow, you see this person, they actually wrote on my book, you know? Like, I think it's not about whether it looks nice or whether it's ugly. It's you, the person who wrote it, actually touched the book, you know?
oh, that makes me feel, that makes me feel things.
Yeah, like the hand that wrote the book has written something in the book itself. So I think that's even more important.
I feel this way. I feel this way whenever I ask for autographs from other artists.
Yeah.
But then to have
To do yourself.
to myself is kind of like, really? Yeah. Like doubting myself.
Like some people ask me to sign on the shirts, then I'm like, but I don't have a fabric marker now. Because when you wash it, you know, it'll go off. So like for those, I'll try not to do it. But like on prints, happy to do so. Yeah.
So for you, you're basically would you say you're more of a writer than than anything
what
now?
exactly is your job? Like,
What exactly is my job? $1 million question. I do art as well. So I'm a writer. I like to say this. I'm a person who writes and does art. Because I feel like whenever someone says the word novelist or poet or things like that, it's a very big burden because then the expectation is that you have to be good. So I'm just a person who writes. I also run a publishing collective that publishes some books. I'm just gonna.
what are some of the titles?
This is one of my books. It's a hardcover version.
So it's is it like what kind of book is it? Is it like a fiction story? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean,
is it a novel? What?
It's
what
a collection of microfiction. So basically, it's just short prose that's very poetry-like, and sketches inside as well. So I do a lot of black and white sketches. That's my bread and butter.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So basically, I'm a black and white artist, meaning I don't use color. I don't use color at all. So, and this is another book from our collective. These two are from writers in our collective as well. So
we'll post like we'll put like photos and photos and links of these.
This is a poetry book, and this is a collection of works from other Asian artists as well. So that's pretty cool.
But cool. This is not your full-time job.
This is not my full-time job.
Oh, how many?
This is your
jobs
side
do you
hustle, right?
This is the side hustle of another side hustle.
Oh my god.
I also run a community called Moonmaker Inc. That's a community of Asian artists. It's a little slow now because I've been concentrating on this and other things like Arcade. But also like this is one of my favorite things to do. Make books.
It's crazy. It's crazy like to see someone, you know, build up the artist and you know the original art and writer community.
Writing, there's so many things.
I mean,
I don't think I've ever met like someone
that
like,
insane.
Okay, maybe not insane, but you know what I mean.
Well, one of my friends used to say that it's because I like to play life in super hard mode. So I think that there's some truth in that.
But I kind of want to ask, what, like, all of this, right? What are your motivations? Why do you work so hard for the artist community? Right? Like, you're doing so much, and like, why? What are your motivations? Is there something that happened before that pushed you to create, like spend so much time and hard work on everyone else, you know?
That is a very good question. And there is a short and a long answer. The short answer is that I wanted to build a space for us. I think that when I encounter anything that advances the Singapore art community, I immediately identify with it. And I think that that's what we all need. More people who are on board with things like this. And the longer answer is that I think that we all have something in us that wants the world to see us. And I have felt that very deeply in my past. I kind of want to... The reason why I started writing was to put a bit of myself out there. And then the reason why I started drawing was because I hadn't touched drawing in about 8 years before this. And then when I picked up the tablet again, it was like an old friend. And I think that it's just that little bit of nostalgia that motivated me to think that how many other people out there are not doing this because of funding or because of other reasons. And the reason why our collective basically like supports things like this is because we want creatives like the Net, whose book is that is in Kinokuniya right now. It just went up on shelves 1 week ago. Yeah, I think that we just wanted things like this to materialize rather than be lost in the ether. And I mean, yeah, the more we have other books coming out from other people as well soon, and every time I invest in a new book, I always feel this sense of excitement and a little bit of revelry, because it's like, okay, someone else is putting a little bit more of themselves out in the world, and as long as that continues to happen, I'm going to continue investing in it.
I think that's a very, very romantic idea,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because like the whole reason why people create art is kind of to share a part of themselves and their stories, and kind of identifying with others and making connections with others, and not feeling so lonely. Yeah, and I think that's like, aside from, you know, having to survive like monetarily and like, you know, like having enough fundings, I think art is on another level. It kind of it's your emotional need, you know, like it makes life so much better and more balanced. Yeah, so like I think for a lot of creatives, it's like their whole life. Yeah, and to not be able to do it because, you know, you need to earn money to survive, and like, you know, the high cost of living in Singapore is very torturous for a lot of people. And I think it's very important for people like you and like more organizers to create like platforms and spaces for like artists and to grow this scene, you know. And it's so like nice to see like the art scene thriving even more after the pandemic. And yeah, I think that's very, very touching to see.
And I mean, like, one thing that's happening for Arcadia that's coming up is that we are all working on something together. We can't say the title of the book yet, but it is a book. So, so you guys can look out for that. It's going to be pretty interesting because it's the first time that we've curated something of this scale.
For your books, you work with like a publisher?
No, I am the publisher.
You are the publisher. Okay.
Self-published.
So what do you have any advice for people that, you know, want to write a book but they have no way of publishing it? Because for me, I'm currently working on my art book, but I'm literally self-publishing it. That means I'm funding it, I'm just gonna sell it on my store, you know. Is there, you know, any advice or any tips?
Right. Okay, this is such a great question, and I wish that someone else could have told me the answer to this. The answer is that it's always very nebulous. Publishing is a very big industry, and there are a lot of barriers to entry. And I think that nowadays self-publishing or like mini prints like ourselves, I wouldn't say that we are considered self-publishing. We are considered a label. So Arcadia is the umbrella under which all these other things happen. And I think that that's how quite a few of people start up. So they establish a little bit of a label with other creatives so that they can get some work out. So it depends on the kind of book that you want to do. It depends on the kind of budget you have, and it also depends on basically what kind of audience you want to reach. And there are many different ways to do this, but if you do self-publishing, you need to do a lot of research into what kind of market you want to address, b how much it's going to take to produce the book. Sometimes people do it on a pre-order basis, so you actually have money to create it. Sometimes people do a mini print run first and then have some copies out there and then do a pre-order run after that. And then sometimes people like myself approach bookstores, and that is horrifying to contemplate, but I encourage everyone to do that.
That's basically like what I'm figuring out, whether I should approach or not.
The answer is absolutely, please, 100%.
Yes, because like if you never do it, you never know. And a lot of times, if you produce good work, people will recognize it, and you just need to take the step to ask.
And I think that for a lot of people who do books or want to have a book out there, one of the end games is to see your book on the shelf.
Ah, yes.
And when that happened for me, I very embarrassingly cried in Kinokuniya. So that was a moment. The store staff going by like, oh.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
But also,
it must
yeah.
feel so, so rewarding.
It was
so...
the end of a 2-year-long journey to do it. So, I mean, like, when it gets to the point and you've already done all your budgeting and now it's finally happened and you've held it in your hands and now you're standing creepily around the corner waiting for people to walk past.
See whether anyone pick it up.
No, so that actually happened. Someone walked past and then they picked it up and she said to her friend, "This is interesting, I've never seen this person before." And that was when the waterworks started. So, yeah.
Do you go up to the person? That's me.
No, because I was too embarrassed to do that. And I kind of wish I had because like she like walked away with the book and I think she was going to pay for it. I was like, so basically that was like a mini meltdown. So yeah, I mean,
it's a good meltdown.
so 100%, please, 1,000,000% you need to do it.
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you for like
Advice.
Yeah.
more
I mean,
advice.
like, if there's anyone out there who wants to talk to me about books or talk to me about indie publishing in general, it is an uphill battle, and I can't cover this in 2 minutes. So this is a very long conversation. If you want to have a chat, just DM me, and I will respond.
Yeah, we'll put like your socials
Yes.
and everything
And I
in
think
the description.
I've sort of like helped some people do their books as well. I know some people who have come to me. Some people in my collective have come to me for a little bit of advice, and I try to help where I can. I can't fund everyone's print run because, and I wish I can because sometimes funding is a perennial problem for most creators.
Yes, that's right.
And it's not.
Yeah, it's exactly why I'm doing a Kickstarter for it.
Yeah, Kickstarters are one surefire way to get like eyeballs. I think that's
and
one
funding.
way to do it. Especially for art books, because art books need a certain kind of printing and a certain kind of production.
Yeah, and the thing with me and Sherms, every time we want to create something, it has to be unique.
Yes,
It has
must
to be different from the rest.
It must be unique, personal,
Struggle is real.
It shows our style and personality. So
Yeah.
like, all this will contribute to the cause.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because the more you do, the more people will be like, okay, so if you want like spot printing on this,
I know, like go for it.
it's gonna cost you more, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the price of production for my book later on. You're gonna
Cry.
scream. Yeah.
To be honest, it probably won't surprise me because
that's true.
I have seen some terrifying margins in the last year.
It's going up. Everything is going up. Yeah.
So-
Inflation is crazy right now.
Which brings me back to the question that you asked me: is there any advice on how to get there? Just keep an eye on your bottom line. Is what I would say. Not only for books but for conventions as well. You need to make sure that you're not in the red all the time. I think that this is a advice that works for artists, writers, crafters alike. Know how much you're spending on the materials. Know how much it's going to cost to go to the event. I know that not all of us are great at math. I can barely count to 10 sometimes, but yeah, just keep an eye on these things. It will come and bite you in the ass. So just
Like even just having a document, like an online document of just like how much I spent on this booth, how much I spent on prints,
Yes.
and then is it worth doing more of these, or should I step back and think
or do something
how-
new. Yeah. So sometimes you might be seeing your event costs go up, and then you realize that it's not quite adding up. So maybe do some more online sales before the next event, because booth rental fees.
Taking pre-orders and stuff.
Yes.
like that.
or think about are you pricing things correctly,
Oh, that's like whole other topic to talk about. Oh my gosh.
And also, I think that for Artcade, we would not be opposed to people doing pre-orders before the event, because people who do pre-orders are going to turn up
Come.
at the event.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I think that that's fair game, and please just prepare and make sure that you've got everything together. So yeah. We're very excited for what's happening.
Very
Yeah, we're
excited
super
too.
excited too. I think it's like, is it like the biggest art market
I would
pre-pandemic or?
Probably one of the biggest.
One of the biggest. I can't say that we're definitively the biggest, but I think that Public Garden was pretty huge.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think that
I think one of the biggest that has been created by creatives as well.
I think
Probably.
that's probably
Yeah.
fair to say.
Like not a huge company, but like like creatives like you and me. Yeah, I think we have to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
So
We talked
maybe
for quite
you
a
want to
while.
give a hint into the book that we are all working on together? Like,
Or any
Yeah,
what's
other
it
kind
gonna
of
be
thing?
about?
Well, in the publishing slate, there are some books coming out. My new book is coming out. It's premiering at Artcade.
Okay.
I have a new book that's basically an original creation. There are some sketches in there as well, but it's very different from Closer for the people that follow me. So this is another experiment. People who follow me know that I'm very fond of experimenting, and sometimes it doesn't work. But I think that this is not bad. So guys, come by, talk to me about the book. It's called Wild Ones. That's coming out.
Okay.
We also have a book that we're working on together that will be coming out early next year. And then if you want to find out more about that, you can come find me at Artcade. I will be there.
Okay.
And that's basically a mythology-inspired collection. Yeah,
it'll
the cat out of the bed.
It'll include our artworks,
Yes,
and
yeah.
then it'll include some writing.
There'll be art and writing as well. And
yeah.
this is not just Singaporean creatives, there are people from other parts of Asia. So that will be pretty cool coming up. So please keep a lookout for that on the Arcadia Instagram. The link will be somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just I feel like it's just very interesting because, like, you know, we've always done art markets and it's usually art.
Yes.
But then suddenly there is, you know,
Writing.
there's you
Yeah,
know,
there's a whole new
there's writing,
community.
there's books, you know. I'm sure there's like a lot of people that
Please
are
go
interested
and find
in books.
Chaerin at her booth.
Yes.
Say hi.
And if you're a writer and you need like art, you know, everyone around you, everywhere around the market there are artists. So, you know,
And also,
Approach.
if you're a writer and thinking of boothing,
go ahead.
So yeah, I think that I'd like to see more people like me. I don't want to be the only writer at an event. I don't think I will be this
I'm sure
time.
you'll inspire some people to booth as well, because I think they just don't know there's an opportunity for
Yeah.
writers to booth,
Yeah.
except at SG Art Book Fair and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
And we want to create that opportunity because
Yeah.
like writers usually get the short end of the stick here, in that you only get to go to very niche events that sometimes
Yeah,
are not
yeah,
well
yeah.
patronized. So yeah, come by Artcade, see what there is.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah,
We'll be
Me and
there.
Sarah will be there.
we promise there will be a good time. So,
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, I think let's end
Thank you so
here.
much for coming.
Thank
know,
you. Thank you for having me.
For the conversations, and thank you also for like trying to build such a great community in the artist sphere. Like
Thank
we
you.
need
Yeah,
more
we're
people
super
like
grateful.
No, the honor is mine. Honestly,
Oh.
I think that it's just a matter of contributing what we can, and I hope that more people like me will be doing things like this. And
you. I think
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. I think more people are more willing to research and to kind of like organize their own events right now as well. Like the new community of artists are like really like
Nice.
Yeah.
Supportive.
supportive.
So yes,
of each
guys,
other.
this is the PSA. Do it.
Do it, just do it.
do it.
Send the email,
Send the
drop
email.
the DM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It all starts from there. So
Yeah, it all starts from there.
Okay.
So
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
we will see you
Thank you for watching.
at Arcade. Bye bye.
See you.